Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be talking about the Tempest Rising campaign that is currently playable in the Steam Next Fest. There are 4 missions, 2 from each faction, but I want to specifically talk about why I think what they're doing with the campaign is awesome, and this is exactly the sort of thing you need to do when you want people to play your game, especially when they don't want to play competitive multiplayer, right? So this is just a screen. This is the start of one of the missions, and this is what you're going to see. It'll show you the mission, it'll tell you what's going on. But there's things up here that say Doctrines and Armory, and these 2 things alone, I think, is what makes this campaign super awesome. So Doctrines, let's bring these up. As you complete missions, so if I go to the missions page, you see that there's missions here, and they have main objectives and secondary objectives, and you have the objectives completed, high difficulty clear, requisition gained, all this sort of stuff from it. So I think you can replay missions to gain more points, but as you do missions, you gain Doctrine points, you gain Armory requisition, and they allow you to get upgrades, essentially. Now, in the multiplayer, Doctrines are done like you can buy every single Doctrine during a match. You probably never get to that point, but you can do it. And what they do is they give you buffs. Now, we're on the screen currently for the GDF, so this is the Global Defense Force, and basically they have 3 different roads you can go now. So you've got comms, mobility, intel. Now, after doing the first mission in this campaign, you get 2 points, and each one I think costs 1 point. So, I just want to talk about why this is really cool, because like I said, in the multiplayer, you just buy them and they cost, but in this, you don't. You get points for doing missions. So, if you look at the comms way, GDF work in a way where comms and intel are massively important to them, so like scouting and vision and essentially the ability to gain intel, which then allows to unlock more units. Higher tier units, sorry. So look, boosted comms, for example. Comms range is improved by 50% for all comms providers. The range of weapons or effects which produce marking is increased by 30%. So, comms area, so the drone command unit, the comms rig, comms officer, air control tower, and the beacon. So that's the area, and I believe that's like the big circle around them. I think that's also what allows you to see invisible units as well. Scanner range, so the Sentinel, the drone command unit, comms officer, beacon. So that, I think the scanner is potentially, I always get confused a little bit. But essentially, why this is really good is that's double the size of all of these things that are effective, and then you have the range of weapons. Now, certain things like the main scouts, like the main infantry guys, and the main battle tank, when a target is marked, they gain increased range. So that's saying that, hey, they already gain increased range, have another 30% on top of that. That's actually huge, right? I'm not going to go, there's a lot of these are all big buffs. They're all, I don't know how balanced or unbalanced they are, but so you can get access to stuff like this. You can also get access to like armored communicators. So all units and buildings which provide comms have 40% increased health. The barracks now also produces comms. Air control tower that gets affected, comms rig, beacon, blah 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 blah, right? Each and every single one of these doctrines gives you a massive buff in some area. Now, there probably is something to say about balance and what to go for first. Personally, like, this is very nice. I like these 2. So mobility, so structures are now cooled down, built 20% faster, which that alone is good enough, and then they return 50% bonus credits when sold. So potentially you can make decent money back on them more so than you normally would. But this one here, resistance treads, harvesters move 15% faster. That alone, already good, because now you're getting more money. Like, faster harvesters means more money. Gain 20% more health, so they're harder to kill, and they also heal 5 health every 2 seconds. This is a very, very good. To me, like, these 2 are good for campaign, because now you can build stuff quicker, now you can get more money, right? That's basically what that translates to. Is that any better than these things? It's sad to say. Like, maybe you don't want to play like this style, and you want to play comms, which is what's cool about it. Now you have increased range, increased effects, and this is increased health for these things that produce comms. So this alone. And if we look at some of the other ones here, we've got manufacturing. All drones have 50% more HP. That is huge. All drones rebuild 20% faster and gain networked. Networked is basically when a target is marked, they gain increased range, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's what it is. There's a lot of drone units for this faction. This is a good upgrade. Then we've got helmet communications. All infantry units always have comm bonuses unless the player is in low power mode. That is also ridiculous. That means everybody's got the comms thing. All of this, like, range and increased area and whatnot. As long as you don't have low power. Massive. EM interference, marked enemies are now silenced entirely, which is ridiculous. This is why it's so far down the tree. So that means anyone who gets marked, they can't do anything. And then ambush protocols, all drones are invisible until they attack. All units that passively stealth are now stealthed until they attack. Reduces the intel cost of stealth abilities. This seems very specialist, but the fact that it makes all drones invisible is kind of crazy. If we look back on the mobility one here, you've got comrigs. Comrig now generates a build radius. So there we go. That is huge if you've got comrigs. So the comrig radius, I think, is... I need to look it up exactly. I can't remember the exact thing, but it has a fairly big radius. Now you can build these, plot them down, and you can build next to them. Triangulation, the beacon and all building sites have 50% additional health. The beacon now lasts twice as long. Riot troopers, drone maulers, and specialist units can now drop a marking mine when they die, which a marking mine essentially tags onto an enemy when they hit it. I think it does a little bit of damage, but causes them to be marked. You do want to mark stuff. We'll get to the intel in a minute, because that's what gives you intel, essentially. Aircraft ascendants. Aircraft have 50% more ammo, rounding down, and reload 20% faster. The Tempest airstrike includes 2 additional jets. What that means is your aircraft are just better, and then you also get like a bombing run thing, and it adds 2 extra jets, so there's more damage. Then logistic networks. Support powers have 20% decreased cooldown, 26% decreased cost. It means you can use your powers much, like they use them faster, and they don't cost as much. And then lastly here, we have like the intel here for these guys, and this is advanced data collection. If marking expires on an enemy unit without it dying, the player will gain 1 intel. What this means is if you mark things by using the various different abilities that the GDF units have, if it expires, you gain an intel. Intel is what allows you to get more expensive units, is what allows you to get more specialist units. Intel is... this team is all about the intel. Pinpoint weakness. All lasers have 20% increased damage and tag enemies as being marked. Field scouts gain network. That to me is really, really good. Field scouts getting network, I don't know if it doubles their range. It makes their range significantly longer. Field scouts are your basic infantry units. Very powerful. Very much like that. Then we've got efficient intel. Reduces the cooldown of any unit ability which costs intel. That's really good. You can use those abilities quicker. Virulent scanners. Marked enemies attack 15% slower and take 15% additional damage from all sources. That, along with what was the other one? The silence one. That's pretty crazy. If you've got that upgrade and that upgrade, whew, that's nice. That's a nice, like, they're slower and they take more damage. No, you can't. That's the sort of ability that's just a straight upgrade. That's just great to have. Investment durability. So any unit or structure which costs intel has more health, which is good. And then regional networking. Network weapons deal additional 20% damage against marked units. Gain an additional 20% range. Owned units that die generate intel for the player. You can see that these doctrines are very powerful. Like, personally, like, I like these two, the mobility to start with. But that doesn't mean that you can't go all comms for, like, some crazy buffs or all intel to get everything reduced in cost and more intel generation. These are great. But this is only one of the cool things about this campaign. We've also got the armory. Now, the armory, you get requisition points. Let's read through what these things do. And this is how you slot them. You unlock slots as you play the campaign. And it goes around like this. And each thing costs 1, 2, or 3 points. But look, all air units gain 30% health. Straight up buff, just have more health. I will say that is probably quite big for air units. I find them to be quite weak in this game. Bunking busters. Rocket weapons damage units inside a garrison. That makes them more like the flame guys on the Tempest Dynasty. So that's a nice... I don't know if that's something I would go for specifically. But that potentially could be a very nice upgrade. Then we've got crowd control, where rockets burst with sonic shockwaves, inflicting the riot effect on enemy infantry. That is pretty nuts. And the reason is because, excuse me, the riot effect stuns people. So you're saying that the rockets burst with sonic shockwaves, and now it affects all infantry. Big, 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 big upgrade. Excuse me. Oh, the expert crew's got 4. So due to advanced training techniques, all vehicles are trained as veterans, 2nd level of veterancy. That's huge. That means they've already starting with a big buff. What we've got here, first aid kits. All infantry heal themselves over time when not in combat at a rate of 1% of the maximum health every 1 second. That, I think, is quite good. I think, like, being able to have anything heal outside of combat, I would definitely have that equipped. That's just useful. Infantry scanner package. Being within 300 range of any infantry unit will tag an enemy as being marked. That is broken. Like, 300 range. I don't know what 300 range is in terms of the game, but instantly gets marked. This is a very, like, you want infantry regardless then. Like, you don't want to just play a vehicle-based thing. And the good thing with this game is it does kind of force you to build multiple different types of units. Laser drones, all drone units fire lasers instead of micro-missiles. The reason why that is good is because your missiles can be shot down. Lasers can't be shot down. And then in combination with laser-focused lenses, weapons gain a 30% bonus range. That makes, and, you know, at some point we'll talk about units for this game. The drone commander, like the drone, the second unit that you get, basically for GDF, which is a drone guy, I argue is one of the best units in the game, early game anyway, one of the best early game units because of their abilities. You're now giving them lasers, and you're now giving them a 30% increased bonus range. Like, you're going to annihilate tanks very, very fast. Napalm grenades, so grenade weapons now set buildings and units on fire. This causes affect units to take 15 damage every 1.1 seconds for 11 seconds. Very cool, bit of extra damage there. All infantry gain 50% increased sight range. I personally really like this. I like having vision. If you're the sort of person that likes to be able to see a lot around and like be able to see things earlier, I think that for what this is very nice. Passive scanner system. All production structures generate 1 intel. That is also very, 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 very good, because that means that once you build multiple barracks, multiple vehicle bays, things like that, you're going to be producing, might only be an extra 10 intel every 20 seconds, but you will get a lot more intel while also fighting and stuff. So I think that is actually quite nice. You've got pilot repair training. All vehicles will naturally regain health up to 50% when out of combat and recover from the status effects. Huge. Just quicker at doing things. Stolen plans. So this is something that I think is super cool. Excuse me. You can unlock, and this works both ways, you can unlock the assault gunner, the boar tank, the matchstick, porcupine, right? All units from Tempest. So this is just sort of the cool stuff I love to see about a campaign, because it's single player. Let's break some things. Let's let you have multiple units from the other faction. Awesome idea. Also surprisingly cheap for all of these. I like this. I think this is awesome. Then you also have Tempest ammo. Rifles now build up Tempest charge on enemy vehicles. That's a very specific mechanic, but that basically means does damage. Tempest immune plating. All vehicles become immune to Tempest charge. Really cool. Very, very. You can see it's very expensive. And then veteran crew, which is due to advanced techniques. What you're getting here is the other games that do campaigns, especially modern campaigns. StarCraft 2 is a fantastic example of how to make the campaigns really fun and engaging for people that want to play in single player. You break things on purpose. You would never let somebody in a multiplayer match have any of this stuff, because it's purposely broken for a reason. It's meant to be fun. Also, if you're playing the game on the hardest difficulty, there are going to be things in here that you probably need that are going to make that side of things a lot more difficult. I probably won't to start with. I'll play it on normal when it comes out, but ultimately look at the stuff that you can play with and use. These two things alone, and the way that doctrines work in single player, are literally the thing that I'm super excited about, because it means that for every mission I do after the first mission, I am getting points that allow me to buff my army and command my army in a way that works to my playstyle. I might completely play mobility here. Someone else might do intel, someone else does comms. It adds to replayability. I might then spend most of my requisition points on upgrading things like bunker busters and crowd control systems, where somebody else might be like, actually no, I want to buy all the Tempest stuff. I want to have that mix of army. This is great. This is fantastic. And I gotta say, like, not only do I really like this game, the way it's shaping up, this campaign stuff, this little tidbit of playing it is super awesome. It's super cool, and it genuinely makes me excited for it. Obviously there is the side of Tempest. We're only looking at GDF. Tempest has the same doesn't have the same doctrines, but it has doctrines and armory as well, and they have their own broken mechanics which make their units fun as well. But I have to say, this is just something that I am very pleased to see. It makes me excited for the campaign. I think the missions are really cool. At some point I want to go over, like properly go over when I played a bit more of it, like the way the different factions play properly. I kind of glossed over it in my last video on this, but what's cool is that both factions play very differently. I think Tempest, personally, are potentially a little bit easier, and they play a bit more like a classic Command and Conquer, like Nod, versus GDF, who I get are meant to be sort of a spin-on of GDI, with the high cost things. They are a little bit harder. I think they take a little bit more time just understanding what you need to do to get intel to access higher tier units. ultimately, I'm very happy of everything I've seen. I need to play a lot more of it. I cannot wait for April to roll around to play this game. It's not too long now, not too long. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this and say, look, this is an awesome idea. I'm really glad that they are adding this in to the game for the single player content. And like I said, with the missions and stuff, I think this is potentially like replay that you can do of these, but you'll be able to look at like what you missed, go back and get those points as well, I'm assuming. And then it means that there's a reason to do the secondary objectives. There's a reason to do the main objectives, right? You're going to be rewarded. You want that requisition. You want those doctrine points because you want to build your army and customize your army in the way that you want to play. And I think that is fantastic. And hats off to these guys. That every time I play this game, I am more and more excited. They seem to be listening to fan feedback. They seem to be customizing and adding in things and doing quality of life and all that good stuff. And I cannot wait for April 24th to roll around when this game comes out. Anyway. Thank you very much for watching as always. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more content on this or just in general, hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always. And until next video, I will see you then.